Getting this camera set up is such an adventure. But I think we've got it arranged this time so that you can see the full thing. It's not short like, you know, like brand new YouTubers do. But anyway, this is photo bashing part 2. And I don't know what I'm going to chat about, but it'll be something. So let me just clear up my things here and get myself together. So I finished up the other side of his hair. It's a new day. We're gonna see what we can do. I'm hoping my phone cooperates. We shall see. It's a new day. Alright, so I forgot his ear last time, so I'm just gonna fill that in really quickly. I don't really have a skin color left, so I'm just gonna mix something up. Now I have like his hair color, so I'm just gonna lighten that up with some yellow probably, and then throw that in there and see what we get. Oh, good enough. We're gonna call it good. So we've basically got layer 1 more or less complete here. And then I'm just gonna work on his glasses a little bit before I move on to let's see, before I move on to his clothes, and then we'll probably go back and see about another layer of color for his face and just try and get some more detail in there. Honestly, I don't do that very often. I don't know why. I just you know, I'm kind of the opinion that like enough is good enough. So I just do sort of enough to make the character look like the character, and I'm always worried about doing too much, like making it a little too ooh, alright, too much water. So I'm just wiping the extra water off there and refilling my brush. Wow, that's very blue. Take that down a little bit. I just gotta keep it wet and we'll be fine. As soon as it dries, it's gonna give me a line, and I don't want a line, so I'll just see if we can get this here. Okay. Yep. So yeah, so really I'm just trying to like kind of get the basics in, you know. These aren't quite the same shape, so I'm just trying to fix that. Then we'll rinse a bit and see what we get. Now what I'm seeing in the photo is that you can see a little bit of his, like the shadow of his eye in there. I might just throw a little bit of that in there, but like really I'm not looking too much into that. I don't need a lot of detail in here. You know, I just kind of want a suggestion. So I went to a class once, a portrait class, and it was mainly like you know, his style was sort of a Renaissance style, but he was like, the less detail you put in the eye area, like where the shadow would be, you know, of the orbit of the eye, the less detail you put there, the more realistic it looks, which is sort of backwards, you know, the way that I've seen it done and the way that I really like to work. Like, I love putting details in eyes. Once you put that highlight in there, oh, that's so satisfying. But I do, like, especially here, I don't want to go too detailed because it just doesn't really make a lot of sense to me to do that. I'm also going to go with a little bit of dark. I'm just going to add a little bit of red to basically the same color and just darken in his eyebrows a little bit. Alright, so and then he gets a little bit here, and then corner here as well, and some shadow in here. I'm going to water this down a little bit. I don't want it to be quite that dark. And we're going to do, well, it could have been darker than that, but you know, what can you do? Okay. While I'm spreading this out, I just kind of want to bring it into the rest of the shadow so I don't end up with like big lines of color on here. just prefer not to have that. I'm just kind of identifying where this line is. I didn't put this in sort of the line of his nose into the line of his cheek here. So I just want to make sure I get that right based on the photo. And then he also has sort of a line here that goes broadly across. So I just want to have like sort of a hint of that. Now this is going to be pretty light, I think, which is good because that's what I want. Bring it up into the shadow that I've already put down, and then there's a little bit of a lighter shadow underneath it. Chin is pretty broad. It goes beyond the lips, which is sort of unusual from what I've seen. Then this cuts down here. Because his face is turned a bit. And this actually connects with that. And I may go in and try and sort of smooth up this later on. So this is all, you know, when you rub at even the dried stuff, right? This has been, I'm back 2 days later, like days later, and it's still, you know, I can just rub these colors and kind of spread them out a little bit. I can take these sharp shadows down a little bit, you know. There we are. I'll probably do this here too, so the shadow should be a little bit smoother here. So just take that down. I'm just going to add some water so that it smooths, you know, so I'm not getting really hard lines everywhere here. And then we'll give it a little bit. I'm trying to even think, you know, I'm like so torn on whether to talk about the quarantine or not, because on the one hand, it is mostly what is happening in life right now for everyone. It's 2020. I don't imagine a lot of people are going to be watching this like right at this moment, but certainly what's on my mind is the quarantine and coronavirus and how all of this is going to play out. I will talk a little bit about it just in the context of like my illness, because I have a chronic illness. I have MS. Now, I'm not on any disease-modifying drugs right now, and while that is a little bit annoying because I could really use them, there's been a whole fiasco with my doctor. We can go into that another time. But it's actually turned out really well with this, because disease-modifying drugs are actually the thing that make you immune compromised, right? Like MS itself does not compromise your immune system. Your immune system is really happily plugging along and tearing apart your nerve coating, the myelin fibers, so that's really fun. And you don't really want them to do that, which is why you take immunocompromising drugs. Basically, you're trying to like calm your immune system down so it doesn't do that to you anymore. Now, I'm not on any. I've been on a couple, but I'm not on any currently. And yeah, so I'm not really at risk any more than you know, a normal person. I'm old, but I'm not over 60. So, you know, I'm in pretty good shape as far as that goes. I am asthmatic, and I do have a lot of sinusy issues, which lead to migraines and stuff, so I don't know how at risk that makes me, but I'm just kind of quarantining to be safe. So I am, you know, I'm just hunkered down, I'm in my place, I've got food, and I've got my animals, we're chilling out. We've been chilling all week. I've been officially in quarantine, you know, personal quarantine, right? Like, not required by anything. I'm not, you know, I haven't been exposed to my knowledge. So, you know, but I'm just being careful, taking the advice of the CDC and the World Health Organization, ignoring my government because, you know, it's been a real mixed bag as far as like what the recommendations are and who's taking it seriously. And so I'm just kind of sticking with the CDC and the World Health Organization and trying to do my part by staying out of, you know, people laden places. Not everyone's doing that. I wish they would. But what can you do? So all I'm doing my part, hoping everybody else is doing their part, you know. It's all we can do, guys. And I'm trying really hard to make sure that I support as much as possible. I still have my job. I work remotely as of last week. Normally I'm in the office, but they're allowing us to work remotely. So, you know, I'm still getting paid, and not everyone that I know is. You know, there are a lot of people who aren't able to work right now for a lot of different reasons. I know people on furlough. It's not, you know, it's not a great situation. So I'm feeling pretty lucky right now, and I am trying to help out. So like my local food pantry, just, you know, donating money where I can, doing my part. Some elderly neighbors across the way, but I haven't been able to get a hold of them, so but I would absolutely offer to like go to the store for them and help out. I am trying to avoid the store. I've got a pretty good selection of food here at my place, but if somebody needed it, I would certainly do that. And so if you know, if you are able to do any of that, I would encourage you to do that. And if it is, you know, 10 years later and you're like, what are you talking about? Like, look this thing up, because, you know, being kind to your neighbors should never go out of style. Alright, but I don't want to talk about it in great detail because, you know, painting is escapism, and as a chronic illness sufferer, I know that escapism is fantastic. I just, you know, it's really important for me. I'm going to darken down that ear a little bit. It's just really important for me to be able to, like, you know, not think about all the bad things that are going on at any given time, you know. So let's think about good things, like painting, and how it improves your life, and that kind of stuff. Alright, we're going in. So I'm just going to do, I think I'm just going to do a base coat, really, of like just sort of a general blue. Pretty much everything he's got on has blue in it to some extent or another. So there's like gray, there's very blue, there's darker blue, there's bluer blues, but basically the whole thing is just blue. So we'll start with a base color of blue, as it turns out, and then we will go from there. So just wetting everything down. We'll just prepare it the way we did the face, you know, just kind of wet it down. Let it absorb a little bit, try and get rid of any puddles, and then apply the blue. Now I'm not going all the way to the edge. That actually makes, I think that's going to make it way worse. The, you know, the paper buckling. I mean, already the paper is buckling. It's not great paper. That's fine. Just messing around with it. So, alright, I'm just going to move some of this around, because I want to get it to up around his hair, into his arm. Let's see what we've got here. Yep. So funny, because this is a pretty decent brush, and it is shedding like crazy. Alright. Let's see what to talk about. I don't even know. It's just been such a crazy time. But what I have found is, like, as, I don't know, as an artist, as an introvert, like, I really like being alone. Like, that's really a comfortable thing for me. And I wasn't sure, you know, like, I often think about, like, you know, if I got a new job, what would it look like, and could I work from home, and, you know, just a lot of stuff like that. Like, am I capable? Could I do it this way? Would it be better for my health? I don't know. But now I'm thinking, yes, it would, and yes, I'm capable, and maybe I should think about that at some point, or talk to my boss about doing it after this is over, because the amount of energy that it takes, apparently, to to get up and get ready in the morning and drive. I mean, I drive over an hour, I think, every day. It's just a huge amount, you know? It's just a massive amount of work that I didn't even realize I was doing. So, and I think this is sort of the idea of occupational therapy, right? So, like, people who will help you. I've never had it, so, I mean, you guys probably know more than I do if you've ever experienced this, but, my understanding is that occupational therapy can really help with stuff like that, kind of giving you solutions to, like, low energy solutions to problems. So, yeah, I mean, it's so hard. I had no idea. I had no idea how much that was taking out of me, but it really definitely was, and I'm so much more able to focus. I don't have all the distractions that I had at work, and I'm much more able to, oh man, when you get these, like a lot of water on there, which of course you're not supposed to do, but sometimes you just get the coolest effects, like these big blooms and stuff. Oh, I love it. This is what I like about watercolors. It's just crazy, man. It just does crazy stuff. I love that. I really like digital art, but you don't really get the surprises that you get with traditional art. Like even acrylic, which goes basically where you tell it to, excuse me. Even with acrylic, you know, you get like these globs of paint that do really cool things, or like you'll get multiple colors on your brush. It's just amazing. I love it. I love the traditional stuff where you just get like weird effects that just, you know, they're like better than you could have expected. They're better than what you were planning. That is my favorite. Just spread this around a little bit. I'll let it dry too, and then come back in and like put in actual, you know, colors of the various pieces. But I just want to get like a little bit of a base coat here. Okay, and then we'll put in shadows, you know, all that fun stuff. Okay. And this is actually working better than it usually does. I usually just get weird lines everywhere. I'm not sure. Maybe I'm getting braver with water. I do not know, but I will take it. Alright, I do really like this waistcoat. Waistcoat? I think so. Yeah, it's on his waist, therefore it is a waistcoat. Alright, so I'm going to try and fill that all in. Come here, you. Yeah, but anyway, this whole working from home thing has been actually really informative and helpful and really good for my work. Like, I'm just getting so much more done than I would have if I were in the office all the time, which is sort of backwards, you know, it's like the opposite of what they tell you. But there's a big difference when everyone's working from home than there is when, like, everyone's in the office except you, you know. There's the sense of, like, you're inadequate, or, like, you're not doing it right, or you're not doing it the best way, or people can't get a hold of you. Like, when everybody's at home, you just have to do it, you know, you just have to do it this way. And it really has worked out really well. So I'm liking it a lot. Let's see. Where do we go from here? So his face is getting really liney, and this is something that I run into a lot with watercolors. I just get overzealous with it. You know, you can get a really light touch, and I know, you know, in theory you can like wet down the whole face and then add in color and it won't get these lines, you know, that we're seeing here. I don't think I want to do actually too much more here. I'm maybe going to put in a dark line to define the lips a little bit more, and maybe some color underneath to define them a little bit more. But for the most part, I think... Alright, and we're back. Okay, so I put in the lines, a couple lines of the face here. I just darkened down the nostrils and the line of the lips there. I don't want to do too much more, but I am thinking I may want to like... I'm thinking I might want to wet down the whole area and just add some more shadows and light spots, but I'm going to hold off on that and work on the hair a little bit because I am not sure what I want to do yet. So what I want to do now is just add in some of the darker areas in the hair. So it's funny, I haven't used the palette that I set up at all. I'm using my old palette with all sorts of, you know, my older colors in it. So I'm just going to mix up basically a brown for the shadows. You know, the shadows aren't so red. I'll add a little bit of red, but mostly the burnt umbers, sienna colors here, and a little bit of the blue just to darken it up. Alright, and then I'm going to pull in the shadows that I see. So now I'm applying dry, which may actually be a terrible idea. I don't know, but time will tell. What I don't want to do is let this dry like this, which is hard because like this is a very dark color. I want to get underneath here like this, but I don't want it drying. That's going to be a difficult thing because, for example, this area. The thing is, so normally, you know, you can spread out the color and then it, you know, you don't get this very dark, you know, you can lighten up the color just by spreading it out, but there's just not a whole lot of place to spread it because I want it in very specific areas, right? So like on the inside here, is where I want it, and then maybe underneath here. Now I'm just kind of making it up. I'm not really following my photo reference anymore. This was photo reference. This piece here. Just gonna pull it. So right now I'm just kind of trying to pull it into like pleasing hair shapes. So obviously the shadow you want kind of underneath the curls, where you want the top to be kind of a light color, or at least a more reddish color. So, you know, maybe I'll pull in some reds a little bit at the top here. And a lot of this, like, I don't love it right now, but it's pretty straightforward to fix, I think. So, you know, this is a little bit too dark, I think. It's just not really blending, but I can darken the rest of it down, which it actually probably requires anyway. I can spread it around a little bit, I can pick it up, I can wet it back down and pick it up. I've got a lot of options here, so I'm not too worried about it. You know, watercolor is, on the one hand, it's pretty precise. You know, you got to be careful that you don't go crazy with it, because you can't fix everything, right? You can't put anything over opaquely to fix an issue. But, I mean, there's quite a bit that you can do to pull things up after they're on. You know, if you want to lighten something or change it a little bit, it's really not as big a deal as some people say. And that may be the different types of watercolor or the different types of paper that you can use, because certainly some of those work better or not as well with this type of thing. Pull that out, and then I'm going to pull it out with some more water and see if I can get the sort of fade effect that I'm seeing in the photo, which is quite nice. So just pull it here, and then I'm gonna like sort of frame some curls that I'm hoping are going to work there. Then I'm gonna pull it out just a little bit and up, and then I'm gonna pull some of that water up, and hopefully that'll be a little bit lighter. And I don't know, I mean, this effect is not, you know, it's not what I was going for, but it's also potentially not bad. And that's one of the things about watercolor that's cool, or like any traditional media. It's like sometimes you're like, well, I'm gonna give this a whirl and see what happens, and it's not at all what you meant it to be, but it's actually kind of cool. So, and those things I find happen a lot. That was my favorite thing about watercolor when I started. I never felt like I was a very good painter, but I felt like if I started it somewhere, that the watercolor would take it to the next level. I feel like at this point my drawing is much better. Like my ability to draw shadows and really fill in a picture. So I feel like I was good at like a face shape before, but I wasn't really good at defining like areas of shadow and things like that. So I think that I've gotten better at that, but at the beginning, like the watercolor was really like the best way for me to get that. So I'm going to pull a little bit of yellow, and I'm going to try and lighten it up a little bit with some water. So it's just pretty pale, and I just want to see if I can throw some highlights in here. I don't know how that's going to work, but I think it'll add some nice dimension if I can get it to work. Just at the tip here, the height of the hair, and not the whole thing, you know, just hitting the edges with something a little bit brighter. And I mean, ideally this would be lighter, right? So I could pull more of it off. I could put some water down and then just pull it up. But I like light, you know, when I'm trying to see that light is hitting something, I really like a little bit of yellow there. I don't know if it's going to work here, but it's certainly worth a try. So, it also can add a little bit of shape to some of the stuff that I'm trying to do here. So, you know, where this is sort of a blob of hair potentially, I can add a little bit of shape to it, right? So like, you know, if curls are coming out, I can kind of lighten up the edges of them. And this is looking a little bit like paint by number at the moment. And I don't know what I'm gonna do about that. Therein lies the question. I will contemplate. I think we'll let it dry and see what happens. I probably am gonna darken down more of this area. Just darken down the hair so that there isn't quite so much of a difference between these two areas. But I like these shapes, you know, the shapes of the shadows in the hair. It's just a matter of like trying to give the lighter areas also more shape and maybe darken them down so that the shadows aren't so heavy. So let's see. One thing, I don't know. I want to do it all. But I don't know what we'll be able to do. So let's see what we've got here. Alright, so I'm using my, I've got 2 things of water. I like to have 2 just in case one gets really dirty. Then you can like rinse your brush in one and then you get it really clean in the other one. I haven't needed to do that yet, but that's what that's for. So his shirt is kind of on the gray side. So I might go some blue and some brown. Do I want to go orange? I'll go a little bit orange, right? It kind of pulls it down a little bit, because they're opposites on the color wheel. So it'll get it a little bit muddy. I want it to be more blue than anything else, but I don't want it to be vibrant blue because that's just, this blue is incredibly vibrant. It is not a natural color for anything. And I'm splashing paint apparently, but I also don't care because I like a splash kind of look, so I'm gonna leave it there because I'm not planning on doing a lot with the background. I'm just getting back into yes, I'm just getting back into watercolor, so I'm not looking to make like a full-fledged like background, front ground, all the grounds, all the, you know, just all the pieces here. I'm just not really up for that. So whatever happens in the background is just gonna be a happy accident or white, and that works for me. So what I'm doing now is I'm just trying to like pull some of these folds. Now again, these are very, very dark, so what I want ultimately is sort of the turn of the shadows. So I'm painting the darkest shadows right now, but ultimately I'm gonna want to have a turn where the, let me grab my photo here. So ultimately we want the fold, so this is like the deep part of the fold, and then a very light part where the highlight is of the fold, where it's folded up, you know, because it comes up, and then there will be sort of the more natural level. My computer's being a bug, hang on. There we are. So I'm just putting in these lines right now to kind of start us off, but I'm hoping that I can sort of bring them down to a more reasonable level at some point. I find that that's typically possible, but who knows? Who knows anything? Wrinkles, folds are something that's really difficult for me and has been forever. Fabric is a challenge. Representing folds and then making them realistic is really hard. So I'm just trying to kind of follow what I see in front of me, because I find that that's helpful in learning, you know, how folds work. It's been, you know, I don't know, maybe you would, but I certainly didn't think it would be that difficult. Now he's kind of scrunched down, so the folds get more numerous as we go down, and they're spaced out a little bit differently. So the thing is, you know, folds can fold in and amongst each other. They can cross over. I don't see a lot of crossover here, but you can get like some really thin, like some very thin folds, some very wide folds, some very like, you know, folds that come through. You can get a lot of different types of folds. So this is like the highlights and lowlights you'll see. And then, you know, there will be highlights in here, but then there will also be sort of a normal color of the shirt. And we'll start to see those. Hopefully, those will start to create a shape, rather than him having like weird stripes on his shirt, which is what he's got right now. And then also, as the folds spread out, you know, when you get really wide, deep areas, you know, where they fold pretty deep, they also get lighter because more light gets to them because they're broader. So I'm just adding some water for that. And then I've got a couple more here, so like there's actually quite a bit in here, which I am not crazy about doing, but I'm going to because I want this to look like a thing. And I do not know. I don't know if it's going to look like a thing. This is definitely one of the more challenging bits for me is this. And it's funny because his arm is up on this side, so the stretch is really like, it's crunched down here, and they're going to be more spread out here. So I'm kind of making it up a little bit now, but I'm just going to try and like pull some of these out in the direction that they should be going, because you know, at this point it's not following the photo. It's just kind of, I'm trying to follow the movement of the body. So these are going to be all the deep wrinkles, and some of these are too dark, so this is a very, very deep wrinkle. It's pretty dark in the photo. And then this is a very dark one because it's in the shadow of the jacket. And then there's another one here, so he's got this waistcoat, which is super cool. Which I don't think I caught the edge of, so I'll make that up, I guess. Now this is one of those interesting like perspective things, because I know that it's shaped, but it's basically a straight line, like mostly a straight line, a little bit bowed, but mostly straight. And then it comes out and around. It's got like a very there we go. All right, so I'm just kind of placing this. This is going to be the shadow of this piece of the waistcoat. And then And the other piece just kind of folds around, so there'll be a little bit of a highlight here at the tip of it, but then it's very quickly folds over. So I'm just gonna pull some water, fill that in. Now you can take as many passes as you want, right? You can fill in the color. This is very light again, and it's probably gonna need to be darkened down, but I don't wanna ruin anything. That's kind of my goal here. I mean, who knows? I might have already, but the goal here is to just kind of layer it on, see how it looks, and then maybe build up from there. I've already got kind of a different shape than we have in the photo, so like this is a little bit sharper because there's a fold right across here. So I might just add a little bit of darkness here. So I just pick up a little bit of paint and run it along the edge here. And then I'll probably try and pull that up. So let's see here if I can do that. Okay. Try not to rub, just because I don't want to pull the paper. Like I think earlier I was kind of ripping the paper over his face a little bit because this type of paper just doesn't take to rough handling very well when it's wet. But I can take it back a little bit. Yeah, I ripped it a little bit. It just doesn't take that well to this now I'm pulling color. Alright, we'll just mop it again and then I'll go back to it later. Hello everybody, I just wanted to thank you guys for following along, watching me try and make art out of goodness knows what. I really appreciate it. I know these videos are really long. I've got another one coming. I'm probably going to be doing digital art next, just some time-lapse of some work that I've done, some old work and some newer work, and just talk through my process and maybe chat with you. Those will be a little bit shorter for people who just want something quicker, but I will continue to do these chats until I get a sense of what people are into. So, yeah, so it looks like, you know, there will be a couple different things to look at and a couple different types of work to check out, so I hope you enjoy it, and definitely let me know what you prefer, and I'll try and concentrate on those things. Thanks so much. Bye.